Welcome back to 340, the podcast where we explore intimacy, love, and presence. In today's episode, I'm joined again by Britta Kunze, a trauma informed embodiment coach who brings a grounded perspective on relationships, sexuality, and the wisdom of the body. Together, we dive into the story of Frieda, present enough to be loved. Frieda is 26, she's independent, self sufficient. She doesn't need a partner to provide a home, stability, or direction. What she longs for is something far more rare, a man who can meet her emotionally, a man who listens, who sees her, who meets her depth with his own. But her partner, a football player she has been with on and off for over 5 years, only knows how to want her body. He wants sex, and she wants resonance. He shows up with desire where she needs presence. And in that gap, Frieda feels the weight of wanting more. This episode is about the tension many women feel, being strong enough to build life on their own, yet longing for a man who can truly meet them, not just consume them. Frieda, present enough to be loved. She's 26, strong, sharp, beautiful, but perhaps most of all, awake. Frieda has always handled responsibility with ease. Raised in a stable family in Munich, her father a self-made man, she became his confidant and business partner before she even turned 20. She was brought up more like a son, negotiating before dating, working more than sleeping. But in love, Frieda yearned for something else. Presence, intellectual resonance, a man who sees, not just wants. For her, sexual desire doesn't come first. It comes after she feels understood, seen. That's where arousal lives, not in the body, but in the connection. She has dated many guys in London, in Germany, different ages, different energies, but no one who felt ready for a family, no one with a direction or vision. Her current boyfriend is 30. They've been on and off for 5 years. He's a football player, trains 4 days a week. He wants sex more than she has to give. But she doesn't need hunger. She needs depth. She needs someone who builds as much as she does. And she's starting to realize it's not there, that she's holding on to something already slipping away. The scene, the weight of wanting more. She sat by the window, fingers circling the rim of her coffee cup. Sunlight danced across her bare legs, but her mind was elsewhere, in a version of life that hadn't happened yet. One where she felt met, matched, moved. Her boyfriend was training football 4 times a week, always in motion, never in reflection. She'd stopped asking when he'd be back. She already knew presence he'd bring, distant, tired, fragmented. And when they touched, if they touched, it felt like she was guiding a stranger's hands. Not because he didn't want her, but because he didn't know how. 5 years, on and off, more off in her heart than she admitted. She had dated other men, even older ones, but no one made her feel safe. No one had a vision, a future. No one made her feel like a woman worth building something sacred with. Frieda had been raised as a son, her father's ear, his right hand. She spoke clearly, made decisions quickly, carried weight without flinching. But in love, she craved softness, not weakness, but depth, not control, but attunement. She wanted a man who could lead himself and follow her rhythm. She was tired of teaching, tired of being the structure, tired of being the only one who noticed the cracks. Their sex was strained now. He wanted more. She wanted real. She needed attention, presence, care. She needed to be adored, not consumed. And he didn't know the difference. In another life, she thought, I wouldn't have to ask. I'm joined by Britta Kunze, a holistic sex coach and someone who works deeply with the body's wisdom. Welcome back again, Britta. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Henrik.
So we've been listening to Frieda, present enough to be loved. And Frieda literally has everything. She has stability, success, independence, yet she feels very unseen by her partner. Why do you think emotional presence often is harder to find than physical attraction?
Well, because physical attraction, it's something that's instant. You know, that's something you have. It might be biological patternings, the way somebody looks and smells, and if they fall into your conditioning, into your pattern. Yep. But then emotional presence is like a skill, and it's something deeper. And most people aren't taught emotional presence. So in most people, it's underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Most people were raised to perform in sexuality and not really attune. And so it's really about learning how to become emotionally present. And with Frieda, the more she becomes emotionally present with herself, the more she understands that the partner she's been with is probably not a good match. And that's not really what she craves and what she needs.
I think in generic terms, we can say that men in general has been taught to perform, right? That we're always here to perform something. We're always here to compete.
Fly to the moon.
Fly to the moon, and we're here to fix a problem. So
to hunt the deer, to provide, to build the house.
And it's been something that has been taught literally through generations, right? And I would say also that showing vulnerability and emotions is seen as a weakness in men. How do you see that as a part of this? Because I think this is really closely linked to Frieda's experience.
Yes, I mean, it's the old narrative. It's the old narrative where, especially for men, but also for women, if we look at the post-war, for example, generations, vulnerability is a bad thing. You know, you need to focus. If you need to focus on survival, then it's not so much about sitting down and discussing emotions and the deepest needs. But in times like now, we could argue if we aren't sort of all falling back into survival mode because of how things might unfold on the outside.
Yeah.
But in today's times where it's not so much, where a lot of basic things are provided for in terms of shelter and food. It's about, it gives us space to deeper tune into things. And I think then being vulnerable can become a superpower.
I see today, I think materialistically, we're in a place like never before for humankind, right? And emotionally, I think we feel more hollow than ever before.
Yeah, because a lot of stress, a lot of performance anxiety, a lot of there's no space to calm down, to really calm down in everyday life and in everyday hustle. And I think that has become worse over the past, even throughout my lifetime, over the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and on that, I think we see a lot of women today that are self-sufficient and they don't actually need a man materially.
Yeah.
But they really long to be met emotionally, right? And what do you think, what type of balance is needed between strength and receptivity?
Well, strength and receptivity are not opposites. They are partners. Yeah. And I think, as you say, nowadays, women are self-sustaining. We're not so much reliant on a man. So we can be more selective in terms of what I'm really looking for in a partner, if it's not necessarily the status or the money. But then I see that a lot of women nowadays are maybe very strong themselves in the over practicing, over achieving and doing side, and under nourished or undersourced in relaxing and being held. Bringing us back also to this polarity thing and the different roles in relationships that we can take onto for each other if we are in a healing and healthy relationship. And then I support women in reclaiming their right to want more than just sexual satisfaction or just let's say material safety or whatever it has been in the past, and to be really precise about what is my deeper craving, what nourishes me.
Exactly. And I think one thing that we've seen as well, I would say, is that, we all have like a masculine and a feminine energy within. And I think it's also then striking the balance between how much is a woman in her masculine and how a man in his feminine to be able to meet without maybe, I think a lot of men feel, particularly when you're not in tune with your emotions, you can feel very confused in terms of how you meet a woman when they're so much in their masculine energy somehow. So I think there might be work for men to develop and practice.
For both. I mean, I know we're addressing right now, we're talking about female pleasure and also men giving space to that, but for both, it's really to cultivate the polarity within yourself in order to meet the other person with what's needed most right now, for the space to relax and to open up and to get to a deeper level. And that's really what we're craving in this world of superficial, quick fix, next dopamine hit thing. We're so depleted. And
well, it's like we're consuming relationships like t-shirts, right?
Yeah.
But in Frieda's case, her partner only wants sex while she longs for connection. And how do you think couples begin to bridge that gap between physical desire and the emotional intimacy?
There has been some cultural conditioning that women have undergone through and that men have undergone through, which have led to a lot of people in male bodies being more respondent to explicit sexual stimuli, and women being more on this responsive side, where I see more the bigger picture. Is it safe? Am I emotionally held? And so on. And again, it's for both to cultivate, like for women to find where is my wanting, also where's my sexual wanting, where is my lust, where's my horniness, where's my... And then on the other side, for men also to tune into a deeper level of responsiveness and to really see, okay, what's the bigger picture? What's the atmosphere? How relaxed am I? How relaxed is she? What's really going on here if I stop just projecting my sexual lust and wanting onto the other person? And if I do that, once again, what happens is feelings come up, stuff comes up that might not be so sexy in the first place, but it's really sexy if you work through it.
Yeah, and that's where you create a deeper bond.
Yes. You create a much deeper bond with yourself and with your partner. And this creates usually a much better, healthier, and growth-oriented relationship. And with Frieda, if I hear somebody has been on and off relationship, what's really interesting, one thing that I realized, and I think that's a really interesting message also for the podcast, is usually you're in a relationship that reflects the level of intimacy that you're ready for.
That's a very good message.
And so the moment Frieda allows herself to be more intimate with herself, this is when probably she starts doubting or she sees something needs to change. And then either she gets to this with this partner, or she might see that she needs somebody who also wants more intimacy.
That can meet her there.
Yes.
Because she also says that she's tired of teaching in love. And what do you think that tells us about gender dynamics and emotional maturity in relationships of today?
Yeah, I mean, through cultural conditioning, women have often been the leaders of emotionality. Yeah. Is that the word? Yeah, because that's
being in tune with emotions.
being more in tune, because it's also has been culturally more accepted to, for
Yeah,
example.
for men, it's like a weakness to be feeling emotions, right? If you think about historically what the way
Yeah,
with
yeah.
men.
And then if you start, so it's really an interesting thing we talk about, because often for women, feeling their emotions, often it means connecting to their sadness on an easier level, and then rage might be already more difficult. But both of these emotions are more accepted in women, like crying, or so for some women, and depends on the culture also, the like the explosiveness. And then for men, they have been taught it's dangerous to show your rage,
Mm.
and you're weak and a pussy if you cry and if you show tears. And again, for both, it's okay, how do I learn this in a healthy way? But coming from a cultural perspective, Frieda, yeah, she says she's tired of teaching love and emotionality, and probably men are sometimes tired of teaching sex and
Mm.
this eroticness. But the dynamic as it is, it creates a burnout. Like if I feel I have to mother my partner the whole time, this will make me very tired, as well as if I'm a man and I feel I have to convince my partner all the time to have sex with me, that's also probably very frustrating and very tiring.
Yeah.
And in my work, I try to, like in the coaching, in the sex coaching I try to work with both sides and really see, okay, what does the other person embody, which might be a puzzle of something that you might, lacking is a bad word, but something that you might integrate
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, and how far do they reflect something, and how does it help you both to grow personally and as a couple, instead of getting hung up into this fight.
Yeah. I mean, I think we spoke about this before as well, that 1+1 becomes 3, right? So when you meet each other in the right way, it actually becomes even more than when you're alone in that sense. So you can actually truly lift each other up.
Yeah, and step out of the role of being the teacher, without shutting
Exactly.
down.
Yeah, I mean, you share the energy. You can create more positive energy together. It's beautiful. So, what would you say to women and men, for that matter, who are afraid of needing someone, but they still crave depth and emotional safety?
Needing someone isn't weakness, it's human. We need other people. I'm so sorry. I've also tried very often to do it all on my own, and then you get to situations where life crushes you down and you realize, okay, I need other human beings, and that's perfectly fine. And that the fear of really deeply relating with others, it often comes from past wounds of bad relational experiences we've had with our primary caretakers, or with romantic partners or friends we've had. And then it's not about needing anybody anymore, but it's about learning to be clear with who am I right now, and what do I need, and how well did I practice to communicate my needs. And then it's not about projecting it all on this one person, and only you have to provide for all my needs, but also building healthy relationships with different people, with friends, with good coaches and therapists, with healers, with a romantic partner, or maybe even, I'm more on the train of having one romantic partner than having a
Yeah.
gazillion romantic partners, but I know that people can handle that in different ways. And then really learning to practice the clarity and the courage to speaking up what you need,
Yeah.
and the self-responsibility that lies on you to get your needs met, and not expect this one person to fulfill them all. And
It's like in modern society, I think we see more and more single households, for example, where people are more isolated and not having that many people. But we have the saying of it takes a village, right? Like
to raise a child,
to
and
raise
it
a
takes
child, or
it takes a village to stay a playful,
yeah,
sexy, turned on, alive human being.
or even to be a human. Yeah, I should say to be a human being, it takes a village, more or less, right?
Yes,
But we need
it does. Yeah, and it's something that comes from, it comes not from a mindy place. I mean, we all feel that nowadays with the internet. We have this illusion of being connected to a gazillion people.
Yeah.
But what we all crave, and I think that comes more and more visible, is this very embodied experience of I'm here and you are there. You know, and I can see you, I can smell you, I can touch you,
Yeah.
and I can see that you're not going away.
That you stay.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful message, Britta. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Frieda's story and to this conversation with Britta. Frieda reminds us of the truth many avoid. The independence can give us freedom, but it doesn't replace the need for emotional presence. Without that, intimacy becomes hollow, touch without attunement, sex without safety, desire without devotion. For women like Frieda, the challenge isn't about needing less, it's about daring to need more. To say, I don't just want your body, I want your heart, your vision, your presence. And for you men listening, perhaps the invitation is clear to meet strength, but also with softness. To understand that being present is not less masculine, but the deepest expression of it. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And for those who want to go deeper, you'll find more exclusive reflections and practices in the subscriber section of the podcast. Until next time, stay open, stay present, and stay human.
You will find a way.